Welcome to Uncaged from talkSPORT. I'm Adam Catterall. It is a pleasure, as always, to be in your company, and a pleasure to be in the company of this young gentleman, ready to rock and roll once again. Washington, D.C. on his mind, but he's doing that camp in Manchester, as he told us last week. The one and only Mr. Brendan Loughnane. How are you, mate?
Yes, Adam, mate. Good to be on. Good to be on the same time zone, a couple of miles down the road.
This is wild.
Once. I know.
This is wild, isn't it? This is wild. Who knows? Next week with
I
UFC
know.
304 in Manchester, we might even do one in face-to-face in person, mate. We might even be in the same room, let alone the same town.
I mean, it'd be so rude to not do this live, wouldn't it? I mean, we're both here. UFC Manchester's on. It'd be rude. It really would be rude.
You brought a little smile to my face the other day when I was just flicking through social media. I saw a young Brendan Loughnane and a younger Tony Musa there, just reminiscing, going back through the years, and obviously teaming up this week, doing a little bit on the pads, boys.
Oh, more than teaming up. This is the thing, yeah. Tony's always been in the background, had a few problems where he couldn't travel with his health for a bit. Now that we've linked back up, his health problems have now, they've got a lot better. He's dealt with them. So we're just speaking to a few health professionals, whether he can fly and stuff. And if he can, mate, business back to normal. Business back to normal.
They got the band back together. This feels like Oasis have got back together, mate. You know what I mean? You've given us the moment.
Do you know someone literally commented saying that? Funny you said that. It's hilarious.
Listen, we'll talk about that when we get into August, obviously, as Brendan heads towards that semi-final in the PFL. This week, of course, we'll flirt a little bit with what's going on with 304. We're not going to do too much on that because that's all about next week. But we'll get stuck into some of the major talking points from the world of MMA. So make sure you like and subscribe to the channel and comment. Get stuck in because there's going to be a few talking points on today's show which we want you to get involved with. We will start with Dustin the Diamond Poirier. You might have seen this. One of my favourite other podcasts, other than ours, mate, is Anik and Florian. I love listening to John Anik, love listening to Kenny Florian. Those two going back and forth, talking all things MMA. Highly amusing. And they always have some quality guests on there. And one of them this week was Dustin Poirier. And they started talking about the last dance for the Diamond. He kind of alluded after the Makhachev fight that might be it. But after the dust settled, after 2 weeks, he thought to himself, mate, come on. We're having one more. Not going out on a loss. We've got to go out on a high. Yeah. And he's had a conversation with the boys this week. And John Anik asked him outright, okay, I'm going to give you a list of fighters. Is your last dance partner going to come from this list? And he mentioned Nate Diaz, Conor McGregor, Alexander Volkanovski, Justin Gaethje, Max Holloway, Charles Oliveira, and Colby Covington. And Diamond himself went, absolutely, it's going to be one of them. Don't know which one, but it's going to be one of them. So it's down to us, mate, to pick the bones out of it. Which one do you want? For the Dustin's last dance, which one do you want?
First of all, let me just touch on Dustin the Diamond Poirier. And you look at his resume and who he's fought, Adam. The guy is an absolute gangster. The way he fights against these people as well. Taking Islam the way he did, busting him up, back and forward, at this stage of his career, after what he's been through, after me and you talking about them Netflix series that me and you used to watch. Look where he's come from to get to this stage now. But after all them names you just alluded to, I think the best one...
Before you carry on, you know they like my numbers and my facts and stats. Do you want a fact and stat? Are you ready? Are you ready? I do this every week, mate. I'll come with something for you. I
don't know how you do it. It's on the top of your head. Look, it's mad.
Listen, since Dustin Poirier stepped up to lightweight, because when he originally came into the UFC, he was a feather, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And obviously, that's when he originally fought Conor.
Yeah.
But then when he stepped up to lightweight, he has fought, during that period of time, he has fought every lightweight UFC champion bar one. The only person that he's not had a dance with in that period of time that he's been a lightweight is Rafael dos Anjos, the only one. He's been in with the likes of the Pettises, he's been in with the Charles Oliveira's, he's obviously been in with Conor, he's been in with them all bar the one. That's amazing, isn't it? When you think about that, the level that he's had to compete for, I think it's 12 years as a lightweight, is ridiculous.
I'm an out-and-out Poirier fan. He really is a true veteran of the sport, and he holds himself really well. I like everything about him. I like his fighting style. I think I like how well-rounded he is. Just like him as a person, and he's been a credit to the sport and the UFC. But back to them names, all of them are tasty, and whoever Poirier fights now is going to sell. But personally, I can't wait to see the press conference between him and Colby. Especially because It's very different when two guys have been in the same room for a long time, training together, and then you get the little beef inside the gym, and then it spirals into this. Like when we had Masvidal and the Colby, like the trash talk, they've got so much ammo on each other, it'll get deep, and the trash talk will be on another level. That's the one I want to see personally.
So are you saying then that he finishes at 170? He goes up in weight to do
I mean,
business?
Colby's always talked about he's small for the weight. I don't know, maybe a catch weight, but yeah, it's looking like he'd have to go up. He's fought there before, right? I believe.
Yeah. Listen, it's a great shout. We were denied the Nate Diaz fight. And I know that Nate Diaz is not in the UFC. And I know that he's having a little bit of a flirt with the world of boxing and he's feeling himself in the world of boxing. He's making a few quid and he's having a whale of a time right now. But there's something about that fight. Dustin Poirier, Nate Diaz, unfinished business. Can they get Nate back in the UFC? I'm sure he would. He's got a wonderful relationship with the UFC, hasn't he? Maybe that. But you're right. Do you know something? Out of all the names that were listed, I mean, he's fought them up. I mean, there's Alexander Volkanovski. If he wants to go up to 155 pounds, I'm sure I'm going to talk about this a little bit later on the show. He's 1-1 with Justin Gaethje, but where's Justin Gaethje at? Is he at that retirement stage right now? Could they have a rubber match? He's been in with him all. The Colby Covington one, now that you've flagged that up and the way that you framed that, that might make the most amount of sense, you know. Because everybody would want to see him get in with Colby Covington and dish out a beating, wouldn't they? They don't want to see it.
Let me add to it. Let me add a bit more petrol to the fire, yeah? Right? Let me add a bit more. You've actually got two guys there that have not fought. Go through that names. He's probably fought all of them bar Volkan and Diaz, right? But Diaz, like you say, he's off in the boxing world making 20, 30 mil for little daft fights, and he's done, yeah? He ain't coming back to fight no Poiriers right now, yeah? He probably would, though, knowing him. But the Colby, the trash talk, the both on losses, like the both from ATT. There's so much.
You've got me.
There's so many moving parts to that could be built up to. He's already like going deep about the stuff he's saying about Poirier already, and they've not even signed nothing. And I'm thinking, if this gets signed, it has the chance to really block. I reckon the pay-per-view buys on that will be insane.
You've sold it.
We're in the entertainment business now, Adam. Think about it.
Me. No, listen. I was going down a different path. You've sold it on me. Mainly because my head with Colby Covington has been firmly fixed on maybe Ian Gary trying to get that particular fight. But now that you've just pitched it the way that you've pitched it, with the gym rivalry, plus Dustin's good mates with Jorge. Getting one back for Jorge is also, it's kind of what Dustin does, doesn't he? You know what I mean?
I love that fight. I love that fight. I love the fact that it's been put out there, and I like that his name was put to him. Let's just hope now that could, because let's have it right. If you're Colby Covington, you're watering at the mouth thinking of that fight because you're thinking, wow, my options are Dustin Poirier or a contender like Shavkat or Ian Gary, like you said. They're my options. So I'm thinking I'll take the Poirier fight all day.
How will Dustin be remembered?
Just that guy that went for it. He fought everyone. You know, he put it all on the line. He's going to go down as an absolute legend, Adam. My top 5 of all time, I'd say. No, top 10. Top 10.
He's must-see TV. There's certain fighters that when you see their name on a card, or it doesn't matter who they're matched up against, you just want to see them fight. And Dustin Poirier is absolutely one of those guys. You know that he was always going to be to the wall with everything that he does. And the level of opponent, like we were saying before, the level of opponent that he's been in with has been astronomical. Astronomical.
Do you remember the hooker fight in COVID?
It's one of my favourite ever fights, mate. It's behind closed doors. It's in a small octagon. You can hear it. It's one of those early times when it was COVID, and you weren't used to being able to hear every shot. You're used to the crowd drowning everything out. That was one where it was really raw and fresh for audiences to see it in that way. And that is one of the most brutal fights that you're ever likely to see. Listen, Dan Hooker had big moments in that fight, but he's never been the same since. He's never been the same since.
And and then you touch on that COVID period, and then you had, remember, the one that stands out to me, and I know it's already in your head, was the Gaethje and Tony fight, like the noises, like the noise. I'm so glad that we went through that little period so everyone could really get into what's actually happening in that cage, because there's a lot of lights, there's a lot of cameras, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors and things. But COVID was okay. Nobody's about. We're in a studio. This is what's really happening.
It peeled back the curtain, didn't it?
It did,
showed
mate.
just how brutal this game really is.
Man. And Poirier shone in them times.
Oh, anyway, Dustin Poirier, he says he's having one last dance. I think he deserves a little bit of a rest because he's nursing a broken nose, broken rib. I think he did his hand as well. So let's get all that fixed. And then hopefully, maybe, you never know, maybe at the end of the year, just to sign off and dance off into the sunset would be pretty special. I think it might be 2025, if I'm honest, mate. But if we can get it done by the end of 2024, that'll be something special for the fans. One man that is definitely fighting in 2024, in fact, he'll be fighting next week and we'll be doing the full preview for you, is the one and only Mr. Tom Aspinall, the interim heavyweight champion of the world. And speaking of other shows, seeing as that we've mentioned Anik and Florian, we'll mention Ariel Helwani's MMA Hour. You popped up on there a couple of weeks back, didn't you? Hey, I saw your cheesy little face. Now then, Tom Aspinall's been on there as well, and this is what he had to say.
I wanted to resort back to a bit of gypsy heritage that I've got. So I thought, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little ring out of hay bales. You know what hay bale is?
I guess like haystacks?
A bale of hay, yeah.
Okay.
When it gets to about 4 a.m., I'd get my alarm on, I go outside, do a bit of shadow boxing in the hay bales, and then I do the old traveller method of dipping your knuckles in petrol for about 20 minutes.
Stop it.
As the sun's coming up, and that hardens your knuckles. You need to watch the documentary Knuckle with the legendary man, Joe Joyce, and all the guys who do that shadow boxing in hay bales and taking it old school and dipping your knuckles in petrol.
You're doing this every day. You're doing this.
Most days, yeah.
So what time do you wake up?
I put my alarm on for about 4.
What time do you go to bed?
I go to bed about normal time, like 11, 12.
Is he taking the mick or what, man? That is peak Phoenix Nights, and the amount of people that have jumped off the back of what Tom Aspinall has said there about dipping his hands in petrol and all that type of carry on, the amount of people that are running with it as headlines, that it's all over major MMA news outlets, the amount of people that genuinely believe that this fella's getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and dipping his hands in gasoline, getting himself some rock hard knuckles ready to rock and roll with Curtis Blades, is mind blowing. I don't think Northern humour transcends or travels to the States. It doesn't even travel down south, mate, let's be honest, because our producer even questioned it, didn't he? Even asked us, does he dip his hands in petrol before a scrap? Do you ever do anything like that, Brent? Do you, when you're out in Thailand, do you come across any of these methods to toughen up the bones?
We're kicking the trees down. You've seen that one, haven't you? Have you seen the kick in the trees? But even they blag you because it's a certain type of tree that's soft, that looks hard. Even that's a blag. I noticed that when I got over there. I seen one of the actual trees. Like, it's a certain, I can't remember the name of the tree, but when you kick it, it looks rock hard, but it's soft. So even that was a lie all these years, Adam. So you don't know what to believe anymore.
The amount of interviews that you fighters do, you've got to entertain yourself a bit, haven't you? You know what I mean? I mean, you get asked the same question, especially when it's a fight coming up, same question over and over again. So every now and again, I think it's nice to come up with just a narrative that keeps you entertained. Maybe you should do that, mate. Maybe next time you're interview, come up with something daft.
I'm big. That Knuckles documentary, have you seen it?
Yeah.
Amazing. I'm glad he brought that up and resurfaced it, and hopefully it gets a bit of light so that the people at home can go and watch it, because that had me captivated, mate, when that came out, honestly, and I loved every second of it, and I'm glad that Tom has put that out there. And, you know, he has been training with them fellas. He's been in with the Furies.
Brad, stop it. There's no way that he's dipping his hands in petrol.
No. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, it was a story that's very believable with his heritage and what he's been doing. You get me? He's put something out there that's got everyone questioning it. Because if he would have said, I've been kicking trees down or whatever, it would have been like, oh, it doesn't really do. But the fact that he's actually Tyson Fury's sparring partner in boxing, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, hasn't he? Do you know what I mean?
You're a bit of an old school trainer, aren't you? You're not into I know that you do. I know that you do. Obviously, some new methods and various things like that in order to for rest of more. I think more recuperation. But when it comes down to the brass tacks of it, you're into the traditional methods of training, putting the miles in on the road and all that type of carry on.
Yeah, I mean, Phil Martin instilled a lot into the boys from Champs Camp. At one time, I can't remember. You'll know the facts because you're Adam. Yeah, how many British champions? How many British champions did he have at one time?
4
consecutive at the same time.
All at the same time, 4 of them.
Wow. Well, there you go. And Phil Martin instilled into them things like bar bag. He used to make them push the team minibus up the hill, up Blackfields Hill, and he had them doing all sorts, and they were winning fights. And I just believe in hard work. There's too many people now that are starting to look at science and starting to look at, well, if my heart rate goes to here, and then that's me done training for the day and all that type of gear. Listen, you can never, ever, ever beat hard work. That's where I am, is because of hard work. It's not nothing else. And that old school method of lock the door of the gym, turn the timer on, turn the music on, and just go until you can't go anymore. And that's just how it's been.
As that's developed, though, you've brought in more new school stuff for the recovery side. Would you say the stuff like maybe a bit of yoga? Seeing you there, a bit of Bikram. You like to get in that hot room, don't you, and get bendy?
Yoga, ice baths, sauna, steams, all that gear is 100% necessary at this level of fighting. There's only so much the body can take, and I'm sure back in the day, if they had that, they would have done that. Do you know what I mean? And there has been advances in science for recovery. One more thing I want to touch on about Phil Martin.
Oh yeah,
because it all comes to me through the lads. It all echoes down. But one thing that he was doing, and I'm pretty sure this was before everybody else. Do you know what he used to do? When they come in the gym in the morning, he said he used to grab the hands and he used to put 2 fingers on here and he used to write down the heart rate. And if it was high, before any heart rate monitors, before any watches, he used to do this one and then go, yeah, you're not training today. And he was the first guy to realise how important the heart rate was. I think maybe he wasn't, but from what I know and from how many years ago that's the first, person that I've heard of it. Then you've got the bar bag that is now in every gym around the world. That did come from Manchester. That did come from there. It was invented in that gym. Old school methods, but grabbing heart rates. How many years ago? Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
Fair enough.
90s, mate. Yeah. The bar bag thing, mate, is absolutely horrific. Horrific.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, it's horrible.
Have you actually seen it done and how it's supposed to be done? Let me just explain to people at home.
Go on, explain it.
So there's this workout routine called a bar bag, and it's one of the most brutal things you'll ever do. So you've got a piece of wood, imagine.
Yeah.
I don't know how high you'd call it. Probably up to your chest, bit lower.
It's about a metre, isn't it? It's a bit higher than, maybe a tiny bit higher than a metre.
Yeah, but just over your belly button, I'd say, over my belly button, yeah? So you stand there, you've got your gloves on, which makes it harder, all wrapped up, so you can't actually physically grab this bar, yeah? You have to do this on it, right, which is an extra bit of strength. So what you do is, whoever your trainer is, it's Joe Gallagher in there now, shout out to Joe Gallagher. What Joe Gallagher will have you do, he'll go, right, 1 minute on the bar, 1 minute on the bag, 1 minute on the bar, okay? And then that'll change, alternate every round, and you'll just keep going in a circle for however many rounds you fight. Let's say, for example, you're in a 6-round boxing match. You're on 6 rounds bar bag, which is jumps. But you're not just jumping. If you do not get 42, to be specific, there's another round in it for you. 42, someone's counting your jumps. 1, 2, 3. So you cannot miss a beat. It's this. And you try doing that when you're on round 6 and you've just blasted the bag in between. When you've got another guy on the bag going harder, faster, faster. It's just a constant, it's basically a fight. And the reason it applies to a fight is because A, you're burning your arms and shoulders out doing this over it. It's explosion through the feet with the jumps. And then on the bag, it's boxing anyway. So it's like, that's your active breast, that's your boxing. And I just think I think it's incredible, mate. I think it's really specific for boxing. And it was amazing the way he come up with that all them years ago.
Yeah. And the mental challenge of it, mate. Like you say, you get to round 4, you get to round 5, legs have gone. To finish off the show this week, I think it's only fair that we get stuck into prospective fights that we would like to see between now and the end of 2024. There's loads of rumours out there. There's fights that are booked. We kind of know what direction certain divisions are going to go in. So I'm going to challenge you, mate, to come up with 3 fights that you want to see before the end of the year. All right? What have you got? Look at your face, man. What have you got? What have you got in the locker?
So I'm going first, or is it you?
No, I've handed it over to you, mate.
I'll go first. No, I'll take the centre stage.
Go on then.
Okay, so I'm English, so I'm going to be slightly biased on this. You know what I mean?
I love it.
But first one's a non-English fight, and it's the fight that personally, as a fan, I really, really, really want to see. I really want to see. We touched on it before in the podcast, but Max and Poirier in a stadium in Spain. That's like, honestly, I really want to see that. That's been talked about. 2 world-class strikers. Is Poirier really that guy? And if he is, we'll find out if he beats Max. That one is a big one for me. Number 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can wax lyrical about it, mate, because I agree. I think that fight, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a fight in the heavyweight division that I absolutely want to see. But that fight, when you look at everything and all the mixes that aren't booked or anything, Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway, given the performance that Max has just put in against Justin Gaethje, given the performance that Ilya's put in against Alexander Volkanovski, I think it's the hottest fight in the UFC, mate. I really do.
By far. That's the fight to me, kind of from a fight fan's perspective, from just the realist martial arts. Like, that is the best you can see. We've got this guy in Topuria that's coming through looking sensational, but then you've got Max Holloway, who plenty of times has had these up-and-comers and made them look normal. Hasn't he?
Yeah.
So, okay.
Go on then. Go on then. You're winning this, by the way. You're winning. Go on, carry on.
You pretty much just said the other one, and I knew you were going to say it anyway. Like, it's Tom. It's Tom and it's Jones, isn't it? Like, let's have it right. It's Tom and Jones. Yeah, I don't have to go any further on that. The world knows why that Tom should be fighting Jones, don't they, Adam, at this point, surely?
No words needed, mate. No words needed. There you go.
Number
John
Jones,
3. Tom Aspinall has to happen.
Number 3, I'm going to put myself in the mix.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to say Brendan and Paddy should be fighting next weekend against each other at the Manchester Arena. Should they not?
Mate, look at this.
I'm throwing it in there. Why not? And that, you know what? We're not calling it a call-out. It's not a call-out. It's what should be happening at this stage.
Look at this. Manchester versus Liverpool at the Co-op Arena. Oh, my days. Look at this. When we started this show, and I said to Brendan, listen, man, come on, do your presenting thing. This might be something that you want to do once you're back in your fight. You can even use it as a platform to say your thing about fights, make your own fights, call out whoever you want. And there he is, ladies and gentlemen. He's got in. He's got in. He's just gone, this is my moment, kids.
I'm just telling you, I said it on Bisping's podcast yesterday. I was on with Bisping and we was chatting about it, and he was like, oh my God, he just went like that. Wow. At this stage where we're both at, we're both winning. You know, I'm the biggest fighter in Manchester, arguably. He's the biggest fighter in Liverpool. And we've got an arena there, his or mine. This ain't a call out. This is just like what the fans want to see, Adam. Fans.
Yeah. Would you say you're near enough on weight for 155?
Listen, I would make weight anytime.
Let's just say, if the king, Bobby Green, for some whatever reason can't make the fight.
No, I'm signed, aren't I? What are you on about?
Yeah, we can make a call. We can make a call. Give people what they want, man.
Listen. I don't want to sit here and like belittle PFL as well because of where I'm at with PFL. PFL is my home.
No, you're in a great position, mate. Listen, semi-final on its way and a final, fingers crossed too.
Exactly, but I just like, hypothetic, where would I want to be, who would I want to fight, and what makes the most sense. I'm just saying, one day, that would be the fight.
Wow. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Listen, I'm going to choose a little bit of a different path on this. I'm going to try and steer clear away from title fights. I'm going to go for what I would class as maybe eliminator fights to set something up for the next title contender. All right? We mentioned Volk's name earlier, didn't we? Right? Come on, Volk. I want Volk to be back. Not just yet. I like the rest. I love the rest. I love him taking some downtime. I love him taking a little bit of a chill. We know that Ilia Topuria and Max Holloway is the hottest fight at 145. We've just concluded that. You've made the fight, my friend. And there are some runners and riders coming through in the 145-pound division. Now, if Volk wants to dance there, he's absolutely well within his right to still dance at 145. But for me, I'm like, listen, man, you've conquered that. You don't need to go back. Let's go up. You know what I mean? We're getting to an age. We're in 35 now, Volk. Let's do 155. Let's not do 145.
Agreed.
So here we go. Let's go up to 155. You're the former main man at featherweight, so therefore maybe you're only one fight away from being able to call out the champ once again. Maybe. Who knows? There might be a new champ. If Islam and Arman fight in October, you never know. That might go one way or the other. Alexander Volkanovski, Charles Oliveira. Deal me in.
No, I like it. I like it.
Yeah?
I'm not blown away by it. I'll be honest.
How dare you?
I'm not blown away by it, but I like
All
it.
right.
Listen, mine's a tough list to beat, so it's an hard one.
It is a very tough list. Listen, my second fight's an obvious one, mate. Middleweight division. We know that we've got the title fight coming up between Israel Adesanya, trying to get it back against Dricus du Plessis. What comes next? For me, I think it's dead obvious. Robert Whittaker has to fight Sean Strickland. Put them in an octagon together. Let's see what happens. Winner of that then gets the winner of Israel against Dricus.
Now we're talking. Now that is a fight, mate. What a fight that is. What a clash of styles. I'll give you that one.
Okay, sound. And then, here we go, mate. Leon's going to need some meat. Bilal's shouting that he's going to need some meat if he comes through, Leon Edwards. So who's going to be up next for the welterweight title shot? Well, you define that by putting in Shavkat Rakhmonov and Jack Della Maddalena against each other. Let them have a little bit of a war. Let them knock the seven bells out of each other. And the winner, whoever has his hand raised, comes out on top, gets the shot at the title later on in the year. 2 massive undefeated streaks from both guys. I think it works.
What about Ian Gary and Leon if he wins?
Listen, I think Ian's got work to do before he gets to that stage. Jack Della Maddalena's further down the line, as is Shavkat. I think that's
true. True. No, listen, I'm all for it. As a pure martial artist, they're the fights I want to see. Forget fans, forget everyone else. As a martial artist like myself, they're like the true cream of the crop. They're like the highest level fights that you can possibly get.
Well, whilst I just highlighted there what's going on in the welterweight division, what did you make of Bilal? I mean, listen, you've got to be confident. You're going into a title fight. He's been saying all the right things to maybe get his head straight as to the challenge ahead. He believes that he's going to absolutely ragdoll Leon Edwards, and he's even talking about what comes first as his defence when he's the welterweight champion. He reckons that he's going to be fighting Shavkat by the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's fighting at the end of the day, right? It is fighting. It's a prize fight. But if Leon even turns up at 50%, he beats Bilal. Sorry to say that. I'm sorry. He's that good. Leon really is that good, you know. Like, I'm not just saying it because I know him. We know him. Like, he does everything perfectly, right? And that's no
very similar to you. He's cold. Doesn't fight on emotion.
It's just, you know what it is with him? Like, he's had so many fights against so many different styles. He's so calm, cool, collective, composed. Then you've got Bilal, who is scraping through fights. Do you know what I mean? And are we all forgetting that they fought before? Fight was going one way, mad ending. I just can't see anything past the Leon domination.
Indeed, mate. Indeed. There you go. We've got all that to come next week. UFC 304 as we build up towards Leon versus Bilal. Tom's taking on Curtis Blades. We've got a stacked card. Bobby Green and Paddy the Baddie. We've got Arnold Allen taking on Jika Chikadze, which could be an absolute cracker. And your old mate, Mo Mokayev, in what we would class as a title eliminator against Manel Kape, which could be the fight of the night. Should be an absolute unbelievable night in Manchester. We'll give you a full preview on that next week. And hopefully we will be in person to be able to do that. All right. So make sure you subscribe to the channel here on talkSPORT, talkSPORT MMA. You're looking for Uncaged. Hit the button, like and subscribe, and get stuck into the comments section. He's off for a masseuse now, aren't you? Get a little bit rubbed down. You've had a tough day in the gym, haven't you, pal? Tough day.
Oh, mate, I can't wait. He's here looking at me now saying, tell Adam to hurry up.
Never has a man's eyes lit up so much to be rubbed down by a big, burly, muscle-bound fella ready to rock and roll. It's all coming up in a minute. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll film that and we'll stick it on as extra content for you here on the talkSPORT YouTube channel. Take care. We'll catch you next time.